Child, if it's one thing the devil gonna do is make sure Ashlee know that she ain't never gonna one up him when it comes to tap dancing on her feelings. Y'all, let's get into episode 9 of Ready to Love, Make a Move. All right, welcome, Question Crew. So we are back, and it is episode 9 of Ready to Love, Make a Move, child. And we couldn't be more exhausted than Venetia is right now, looking at Mizell make a fool of himself once again. Honey, why are we entertaining Krusty the Clown at this point? Mizell has shown himself to be a complete jackass, and keeping this going on in the last episode, we really didn't need it. They could have ended it right there. But Mizell continued to lie in her face, talking about how, he just wanted to make sure everything was good with them. Sir, you were texting this lady trying to get a date with her while you were supposed to be on a date with Sharesse. And Venetia reminds him that, hey, you could have went on a date with both of us because technically nobody owned anybody, but it was the way you approached the situation that makes you a cornball. And then she says that even if I did like you and I was cool with you, the approaches would turn me off from any man. I don't like the messiness. And so Mizell hears that, and he knows that the door is closed. But he tries to come across like he's too smooth to be embarrassed. So he turns around and goes, well, I hear what you're saying and I totally understand. I just wanted to get that straight. And really I was hoping Sharesse came here today. Sir, in order for Sharesse to have come here, you would have had to text her and call her, and you don't do that. So he basically makes it seem like he really was hoping that Sharesse came instead of Venetia, because then he would have had an opportunity to be able to, explain to Sharesse how he felt about the situation. And he's new to this whole situation. But you're not new to dating, Mizell. You're 50, sir. So you've been here for half a century. You know how to do the proper things. You just were trying to be a pimp and a player, and it didn't work for you. And neither is this shirt. At this point, he's annoying. Venetia is annoyed with him and the lying that she's doing. So she's fine with him saying his last rites and heading on out the door. She says, you can't play a player, and I totally agree. When I tell you Mayor Eric Adam got 9 lives, I really do mean that, because who is sure enough in the restaurant when Sharesse walks in but this clown himself? And he is sitting here looking like an ass, but apparently about to get reelected because Sharesse just can't get enough of him and his non-talking self. Now, I did see Crystal's interview, like I told you last week, and Venetia personally confirmed that Eric Adams and Sharesse seem to have had some type of really good, connection. So she liked the mayor. Let's be honest, she liked the mayor wallet. And that's why Sharesse is really here. I have told y'all since the second episode when he showed up with the Louis Vuitton sandals that Sharesse was checking that wallet, honey. That's why every man hasn't worked out. Sharesse has met some decent men along this way. The last guy was a good example, but he was too poor for her. The new guy's going to be an example of being too poor for her, because she's looking for somebody who's going to be buying her expensive things, taking her to expensive meals, and going on vacation. Sharesse not looking to be nobody's mama. So if you got a kid, you eliminate it. Sharesse not looking for nobody who don't have free time on their hands. So if your job is too demanding, you're going to be eliminated. And Eric Adams has moved to that stage in his life, and he is willing to drop money on Gucci and gold. Although I think he would actually get her something from DH Gate, because I really do feel like low key he's kind of cheap. And Sharisse gonna find that out on the back end. But honey, she is still here trying to make sure she can get something from that wallet. So Sharesse shows up and she says that since they've been separated, Maurice has been calling her, at least calling her. She doesn't, and saying putting in a little bit more effort. So Sharesse walks up to him and says, aren't you happy to see me? And he's like, I guess. When I tell you the ways in which she would let this man play in her face on TV is astounding. So Sharesse basically says that, since they've been divided, he's been trying to show more attention and time to her. He says he didn't realize until they kind of split. Although, do y'all remember when he said that she gonna miss him? He says he didn't realize till they split that Sharesse meant something to him. He didn't realize he was not communicating in the way that she needed, and he wanted to kind of maybe talk with her more. You mean at all, sir? Because you were barely saying anything in those conversations, but you was biting down on them greens every single time. He says that, he knows it's, especially different, that he needs to be a little bit more chill and also be more open so that she will open up. And I just have to say this, seeing this level of desperation from Sharesse is disappointing. I don't see the deepness in Maurice, but I do see that Maurice might have deep pockets, as does Sharesse. And I think that's where the formulation of their relationship goes. When I tell you these two are as deep as a kiddie pool, I can't even imagine that this is going to work out for a long-term situation. But, for Sharesse at this point in her life, maybe this is what she's looking for. Now, when we say we love Ashlee, but we just don't know what the hell is going on, this is exactly what we mean. Here she comes strolling backless and clueless into this restaurant, and lo and behold, with a super grin on her face as she sees Kirsten, and here he is with flowers and candy, child. When I tell you these men don't even have originality in the gifts that they bring in these ladies, they just bring in whatever they think. And of course, Ashlee's super excited because she just want to be chose, honey. And Kirsten got not just one bunch of roses, but two. And he comes to hug her and he tells her, he was trying to be different. He wants to be not what the situation was before. He understands what he has to do now. When people show you, like, at least my Maya Angelou voice, don't make fun. I'm gonna try. When people show you who they are, believe them. I actually sounded more like the father from the Lion King just now, but let's go ahead. Anyway, everything the light touches needs to be something that Ashlee needs to be serious about. It's the way in which she will also allow Kirsten to play in her face. This man is here for competition. He is not here to win her heart. He could barely be interested in her when they were seeing each other. He cares even less now, but he does not want to be eliminated. And that is the only reason he is there. I wish she would pay attention. And this reminds me of something I heard years ago somebody say about how, like, that repetitive nature is for a reason. When she says to him as they're sitting down that it's something about him that it reminds her of every guy she's dated, and that's what scares her about him. I was like, he reminds you of every guy you dated because God keeps putting him in front of your face to get the lesson, and you're not getting it. Girl, the devil wears blue too. And so Ashlee is just sitting there saying there's just something about him. And at the same time, she doesn't really trust him, but she needs Donald to step it up. And I'm like, what do you need Donald to do that he's already not doing? Because he clearly showed, he's been honest with you, even when it was uncomfortable. He's shown up for you. He was constantly bringing you flowers and giving you them little tired poems, honey. And that's not enough. At this point, I don't really know what Ashlee's focus is when she's on this episode. She starts giving us these clueless analogies. And I'm like, Kirsten's not really saying anything. He just sounds like he's in a competitive match. He gives us this weird ESPN analogy about basketball and how he's not going to be beat out this competition. When I tell you that man is nowhere near interested in this lady, I know that we can see it, but why can't Ashlee? So here comes Zadia again, dressed like an extra in the Missy Elliott video. I don't know what Zadia's thought process is. And y'all just let me know down in the comments. I don't know what it is about people, show. Like with me with Zadia, it's like she's been a hit and miss with some things in her wardrobe. I appreciate that she bought so much with her. But it's just a feeling of like, normally when you go someplace, you try to have like a little bit of a color story, honey. You try to make sure you have stuff that goes for what you think you might be doing on a regular basis. Zadia, I'm not sure that she knew what was going on, but she didn't bought an outfit for every occasion, honey. She said, look, I could either be me and Men Tonight, I could be in the backup of a Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation revival. I don't know what it is with Zadia and these outfits, these glasses, these hoops, honey. It's very much given I'm trying out for Sierra in the early days. If she makes the O video, fine. But one thing we know she's not going to do is give any man attention that's not Cam. Or at least we thought. Because Zadia strolls in on a blind date that Tamika is sending her on. And we know that Zadia really doesn't care for the blind dates, girl, because, she hasn't really given any of the men that Tamika has linked her up with a chance because she's been so obsessed with Cam. But Zadia is getting a second chance with her very first blind date that she met the first night at the mixer. He was a school principal. He never got to that because Zadia disrespected him multiple times. And at that point, she walked off because she just wasn't happy with the fact that he was asking her real questions. God forbid somebody asks you questions on a date. But Zadia is giving it a second chance in light because Cam is starting to be a little shaky in the scenario. She finally calms down, brings it down about a good 35%. So the man can actually get a word in edgewise. And she finds like, oh, he's funny, he's interesting, he's educated. And let's be honest, exactly what Zadia said later on in this episode is exactly what I'm saying in this moment when we see this scene. That pretty much Zadia liked him because he kept complimenting her. She liked him because he kept boosting up her energy and her ego. And that's what she was looking for in that conversation before, probably. And the fact that he was trying to figure out early on what's wrong with you. Is the reason she didn't care for him before. But she finally lets him in once he gives her the 80th compliment about her smile or her teeth or her leather bustier, whatever the situation may be. And they start talking longer. She realizes he's a thoughtful person. He's an educator. He's smart. He's well-read. He focuses on self-care, and he also works on self-improvement. He's also impressed that Zadia has read a book once or twice in her life and has worked on self-improvement as well. So there is a little chemistry here. And it probably could have been like that for her with multiple dates, but she was so focused on the street Cam that she wasn't focusing on any other man. So Zadia starts to relax and get comfortable with him, and their date goes a lot better than the first time. And honestly, I think this guy is cute. I think he's, he's, obviously a nice looking guy, great in shape, employed. There's a lot of bonuses here. And on top of that, that he seems like a cool catch that she should definitely include because Cam is all over the place. So here Ashley come dilly-dallying her ass to go talk to Donald, messing with this man's energy and his interest in her. And she wants to have a discussion about their future. She brings up the fact that she recently met up with Kirsten and somebody from her past, and that is making her want to make sure that Donald, stays on his toes. And I definitely understand a healthy level of competition and Donald not getting comfortable, but I do feel like Don has really shown himself to be somebody who's trying to show up in the ways that Ashley has asked for and communicated. Our boy showed up at the date at the party and spun her around, made her feel good about the fact that Kirsten didn't even call her ass and didn't even check in on her to see if she was okay until the next day. He left her for dead, okay? But Ashley has not learned the lesson, and so she's continuing to engage in toxic energy, aka Kirsten. And so Don is hearing what she's saying, but he knows that he's been stepping it up. And he's like, are you trying to get me to compete with this other person? Because that I won't have. I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know I've taken lessons in the things that we've talked about. And so I can't believe just some candy and flowers would really do it for Ashley. Don says he definitely sees Ashley in his future and he would like them to continue on this path that they're going on. Ashley ho-hums as if it's so boring for him to say something so regular and normal and feels like he needs to throw a little spice and action into it. And I think this is one of the reasons that Ashley is still single. I think there is something about having a spark with someone. I get that. Don is not giving me boring. He's giving me consistent. He's giving me, I'm listening to your communication. He's giving me, I'm following through with the things that you asked for. But there's a part of Ashley that's attracted to the streak of danger that Kirsten brings, the toxicity that he brings. Look how they argue when they wasn't even in a relationship, and the way he didn't even try to come for her when she was letting him go. And so it's crazy to me that she would even think that. But Ashley's insecurities are still kind of floating in between. She says that, she doesn't want him to get comfortable. And Donald says that he's not doing that, but he also ain't going to be out here knuckling it up with nobody for Ashley love. And I hear that. Child, so Zadia and Cam decide to go out to dinner, and you can tell that neither one of them ever leave a house with a mirror in it, because when I tell you Zadia's wig was slipping so forward, I didn't know what was going to happen. And they're sitting down having a conversation about whatever's going on. And, Cam is sitting there. He's trying to listen. He's trying to care. Now, just a pause for the cause, y'all. Do y'all think Cam's hair is his hair is a wig? I don't know. It feel like there be stuff in his hair sometimes. And I feel like even when you have a natural and it's growing out, or you have like a little bit of a wild natural or a dreaded lock look, you still gonna pick stuff out your hair. And I'm feeling like he got a little bit of stuff here and there that made me feel like maybe that could be a wig. Is he pulling the Steve Harvey on us? I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments how y'all feel about that. Either way, I digress. Back to the episode. So Dottie is basically saying that, since episode 2, Tamika has really been trying to hook her up with so many people. And she kind of then been dodging those bullets, even though we've been telling her not to, because Zadia, you need to go through the process. Why are you pulling a Venetia 2.0? She's one of your besties on the show, and you knew how it went with Joelle. So why would you put yourself in that position? And Zadia keeps saying that she doesn't understand why he keeps giving her these blind dates, because she's not giving anybody a shot, and feels like she's connected with Cam and Cam is saying like, hey, I think it's important that you go through the process, which of course makes her bad, because basically Cam is saying, look, I don't know that I have the time and commitment. I told you this on the couch. You still want to do this. And he's basically saying like, I don't think I have the time and the commitment. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to give you the things that you need in the situation. So it is a great thing that she's connecting y'all and you're meeting new people and cycling through this whole thing the proper way. When the man that you're dating on the show is telling you to date other men on the show, that is clue number 1. So he's telling her this. Zadia is getting annoyed by the fact that he mentioned that situation. Cam said, he's not really trying to make her feel bad or mad. And, it's making me feel like Zadia is ignoring these signs because she just really wants to be with this man so bad. Now, you know how I felt about the fact that I felt like he was leaving the onus on her to determine that they would break up. Because, sir, if you really would just want to let her go, just let her go. And I agree with many of the women that talked about that later on in the episode. However, Zadia, why are you not paying attention to the signs, ma'am? They out here painted in red, white, blue, green, yellow, and orange. Why are you not looking at this man saying that he thinks that the process is important? He has ambitions and things that he wants to do, and he's not sure he can dedicate his time to those ambitions and also this relationship. You cannot bully somebody into a situation, and you also cannot force them into something that they will end up resenting you for later. But Zadia don't listen. And this man had told her 4 or 5 ways with 3 or 4 different zodiac signs that I do not see you in the future necessarily. And if I do, it's going to be 2 or 3 years from now. Zadia is continuing to hold on, and she going to ignore these flags whether we want her to or not. So let's just watch her go through this process, y'all. When I tell you Venetia was so hyped to see Tabari, she was enjoyed like a fat kid loves cake because she was just so happy to be out the presence of Mizell and his lame self. And so Venetia is meeting up with Tabari. They're at some historic restaurant. He said it's been around in New Orleans for, since the beginning of the century or something like that. And I threw the party of the century. Now let me stop. Throw some ride wave right in the middle for y'all. I just want to keep, the energy going. So Venetia is with her keeper, Tabari. And she said she couldn't be happier to see him because Mizell was just annoying and stale. And Tabari is a breath of fresh air. She loves how genuine he is with her. And they're having a great conversation. Tabari is saying that it's also important to him at this stage that he needs to be locking it in with Venetia. He absolutely likes her. He's into her. He want to make sure there's no other interest but him in the situation. And he's just letting her know that. They start having a great conversation just about where they think that everything is going. She says that she has a genuinely good time with him, and he says, but he wants to get deeper into the situation because he knows that that was a concern for her. So he starts asking Venetia about her spirituality, and I loved this conversation, y'all. I love when people start talking about this, especially because it was interesting to see them talk about the dynamics of their spirituality. So Tabari asked her, what is her philosophy and how she thinks about life and her spirituality play a role in her life. And Venetia basically says that, she's a very spiritual person, but she is non-denominational. Like, she doesn't feel like she has to explain, her walk with God with anyone. Like, the Lord knows her soul, knows her troubles, knows her commitment. And Tabari says he completely understands and respects that. And he's seems to be glad that she is just a believer, and she is happy to see that he is one. And so she asked him about his spiritual path, and I thought it was very interesting because I feel like so many people's families are like this. And Tabari basically says that on I think his mother's side, his family is Catholic, and on his father's side, his family is Baptist. And then he has a grandmother who was Pentecostal, honey. So they was in church every day of the week. He basically said that it's the whole Bible thumping, the eye rolling, all the good stuff. So he's basically saying he was exposed to 3 different denominations. So he clearly has a relationship. He said he has a relationship with the Lord, but he's not, I think, denominational either. However, he's been around church for a lot of his life. And, he also says that he, it's important to him that he has a spirituality that he turns to. And I really appreciate how free and open they were with the conversation. I hate when people try to play spiritual Olympics and think like, oh, my denomination is better than yours. And I love that they had the conversation about faith because it is important and it can be a divisor in relationships and when you're getting with someone. So it was just nice to see them have this like deeper conversation about things that are going to be deeply rooted in that relationship. Because if you get married to somebody or you date someone, that's going to matter to you at most. And I know I cannot not be able to believe it, honey. I got to do it. Because I know what Jesus has done in my life. So I cannot play around with that. And I'm glad that Venetia and him, echoed the same thing early on so that they can make sure that they mesh later on down the line. All right, so the ladies are back at home now, and they are sitting down with Tamika, who is dressed like Lisa Ray in all white, and she wants to know all of the tea of everything that has gone on with these blind dates, because these recent blind dates have not been strangers to these ladies. They're all guys from their past, and she wants to know what the connection was for them as far as, did they really link up with somebody that could still have a chance, or are they good with their keepers? So first up is Sharesse, and she is talking about her and Eric Adams and how they got back together. He came in with the funeral suit. Sharesse showed up super happy because his wallet was invisible sight. And she says that she really enjoyed Maurice's conversation this time. He's a better guy. When I tell y'all, Ashlee face when Sharesse was talking was hilarious to me. She says that, he's a lot more talkative and, it's definitely a different side that she's seen. He's been very attentive. And so he's definitely still going to be back in the mix as a possibility for Sharesse. She likes spending time with him. and, hopefully spending his money one day. So, ain't nothing bad about that. Next, we move on to Ashlee. Ashlee says that, of course, immediately when she saw Kirsten, she immediately got a connection with him because they have that physical connection. That's never been a problem. But she is concerned about the possibility of getting her heart broke by him because he is every man she's ever dated. She says that she doesn't even know if Kirsten is really here for a wife or a girlfriend or just for a good time, honey. Really, is he just here to waste time? And I feel like Ashlee knows the answer to this, but she's playing in our face. I mean, to me, I don't get why this is a dynamic that we keep exploring, but for some reason, hey, if she like it, I love it. She does say that Kirsten could shake it up between her and Donald, and I don't know why, but Ashlee loves to live in constant dramatics, and this is a perfect example of that. Next, Tamika asked about Venetia and Tabari, and Venetia basically says that, she asked about to Venetia and Mizell, my bad. And, Venetia basically says Mizell is a pure clown and he tried to be a player. It wasn't working for her. But she said in this moment, it really wasn't about Mizell. She said she actually was really proud of herself because she allowed herself to stay calm and cool and collected, and that she didn't come out of herself. Because I think she probably would have cussed him out differently maybe a year or two ago. She might have really went off on him, and she kept her calm, let her, cool head prevail, and she allowed him to speak his speech, whether or not he was talking complete nonsense. And she loved that she didn't react. She let him say what she said, and then she got up and smooth walked the hell out on him, as she should have. And she basically turns to Sharesse and tells her what Mizell said to her when she left, which is like, tell Sharesse I said, hey, and Sharesse was like, what am I gonna do with that information? Because he ain't getting a chance with me. Good Sharesse. So next we move on to Zadia. And Zadia had her date with the previous dude, and she definitely said that she enjoyed the date, mainly again because he hyped her up like a coach. And she admitted to the fact that that made her feel good about herself and her situation because obviously she's going through it with Cam. She basically says that, she's not sure if there's as much there with Cameron as she thought before. And some of the ladies are a bit surprised because they don't know that Cam has been pretty vocal with Zadia about not really having the time. And no, that's not true. They have been vocal with her, but I think they hadn't heard this last part of Cam really re-emphasizing it again. So Tamika decides to take a group poll to find out what everybody else's feelings are about Zadia's love life. And she goes to each lady in the room. Sharisse says that Cam should have been honest from the beginning, that it wasn't anything serious, and Zadia could have been gotten her attention off of it. But he did tell her that day at the door, and Zadia didn't want to hear it on the couch. Ashlee then says that she wants to speak from the male perspective. Ashlee, nobody's asking you to be the devil's advocate, honey. No, the devil don't need an advocate. But here she go. I got 6 brothers, and I try to understand things from their perspective. And I think he really does want to be this person for Zadia, but at the same time, he doesn't have the way to communicate that he doesn't have the time to do it. He's actually over communicated at this point. You know what I'm saying? I think at this point she overstands the situation, and she's choosing to just not make a choice. But here go Ashley trying to keep Zadia in toxic situations, talking about, but at this end of the day, Cam needs to be more honest up front, and I think he's been doing that. She's just choosing to ignore. Venetia says if Cam knew early on that he was not ready for a commitment, what he doing here? And this, along with Sharisse, to me, had the best advice. And I agree with Venetia. Why are you on the show, sir? I mean, why are you on the show, sir? If you could not make the commitment to any woman because of all of the things you had going on, it gives me you were trying to plug your business, which you forgot about anyway. So Tamika says, well, it's time to narrow down your choices because here come the men because we got another mixer tonight. So we finally got this mixer, y'all. And the fellas come in and they come in bearing gifts. Nick from last week, he finally shows up with the flowers and a gift. So unoriginal because ain't that what the other guy bought? I feel like at this point that Own is giving them that when they hit the steps of the door and they just bringing in anything. But he does have one of the flowers in his shirt and he's trying to show effort. But you could tell that Sharisse does not care because, again, it's not Eric Adams in his wallet. And then basically the other men start to roll in, Tabari comes in empty-handed. I'm a little bit, but technically he gave Venetia some roses the last time, so we're good on that. Actually, he gave her 2 sets of roses. And Cam kind of strolls in afterwards, but the one who had my heart was Donald, honey. When I say you don't bring me no roses, bring me some food. Because Own ain't feeding them in between, honey. Ashley ain't trying to cook another night. So Donald shows up with cheesecake and cake for Ashlee. That's Bay right there. That solidified him for me in her heart, whether or not she's fool enough to not know the difference. But he said, "Hey, I got you two options. I got you sweet potato pie, and I forgot what the other thing was. I think he said some cheesecake, just in case. Which one you want, baby?" So Donna was appropriately, and I got to give a hand clap to that. And honey, I have to say this: Donna knew what he was doing because the bakeries in New Orleans, ooh, there's only a few places in this country, honey, where you can get you some good pie, some good baked goods. I'm talking about baked goods. I'm talking about black folks baked goods. There's only a few states in this country where you can get that done besides grandma house, your mama and them, depending on where your family from. And New Orleans is one of them places. So Don knew what he was doing. So Cam shows up with that chain and that open shirt per usual. And Venetia is the only one that's not hugging on her keeper. Tabari actually walks to the table and Venetia is looking less than satisfied with him. And he's looking at her kind of like he knows what's going on. And she basically says the reason that she's giving him this face is because she hadn't heard from him all day. And he says, yeah, but I did text you to let you know I was coming. And she said, you texted me at 6. So I was like, what is it, 7? Because her energy towards him was so like extreme. And I'm just like, okay. So did he text you the hour before he was going to show up? And that's the issue. So Venetia is giving, very much not feeling it. And she's saying, to me, I don't know, I feel halfway about this. I understand what she's feeling in a way because they're newly starting out. And I think she still harbors a lot of the issues that she had with Joelle, and specific to Joelle, being really hot and heavy with her early on in the season and throughout most of the season. And then she kind of said, like, once they ended up choosing each other at the end of the show, then Joelle's behavior changed like 2 weeks after the show ended. So I think a lot of that she still harbors with that. And, I think Venetia's the one that's like, you're not finna break up with me. I'm finna break up with you every time. So I feel like she's trying to make sure that he's not falling off of his energy. And when you do get a woman or man used to hearing from you every day, especially in the beginning stages of y'all talking and stuff, it will throw somebody off when that rhythm or that system isn't the same, especially if you're used to texting throughout the day and all of that. At the end of the day, however, this man does have a full-time, he got multiple jobs, right? We figured that out. He got multiple jobs. And Venetia's pretty busy, but she claims that even as a CEO, she can be busy and does still make time for the person that she's into. So she's letting Tabari know that, look, I understand the busy schedule and you got a lot of stuff going on, but I need that consistency. And I'm glad she eventually communicated that, but being mad at him when he's been consistent so far from what we know and what she's expressed to us on this one time that he didn't like text you 85 times that day to tell you how good he think you look or how nice it is, whatever. It was a bit much, sis. Like, you could have just communicated up front that you didn't love that he texted you an hour before immediately and said that. But having like the little annoying pose on, it wasn't cute. So then we move over to Zadia and Cam. They're standing up, actually going to the drink station to have a little bit, honey, because Cam just letting y'all know I'm only here for a good time, not a long time. Per usual, I'm too busy even for shooting this scene. And him and Zadia are talking, and she says, "Oh, you taking a break from work?" And he's like, "Yeah, he had to get out or whatever." She's like, "Okay, I appreciate it." They're talking, and then she ends up spilling the drink on herself as she's like trying to switch cups in her hand. So that kind of goes bad for them. She got to go upstairs and change. When she goes upstairs to change conveniently, because it was the weirdest like change, Tamika decides to pull Cam into the house because she knows and she always want to get in the mix. So Tamika pulls Cam into the house and she basically is saying like, "Hey, I don't like how you playing my girl, how you setting up the situation." Zadia will, laid it down for us that you are saying that you're too busy for the situation, and I need to know what your intentions are, because I put you on the show with this chain and all, and you making me look like a fool because we are questioning some of these people that she has shown up with for these blind dates. So Cam says that he just feels like he's got a lot going on with his life and career and the things that where he wants to be in his career and where he wants to be in his life within the next couple of years. And if he does those things properly, he'll be able to spend all the time and all the relationship time with a woman. And this is all coming from pharmacy. I need to know more. Because everything else is reading possible something else, meth lab, whatever. So Tamika basically says that she thinks this is a crock of BS. It's one of two things. Either you're leading Zadia on or you're in love with her and you're afraid to pursue that love because you're not sure of where this path will lead. But you can't keep running from that situation because that's not how life works if you really want love. And ultimately, whatever the case may be, you need to let her know. And he's saying, well, no, I don't think it's that. I really genuinely like her. that's true. I like her. He ain't say love. But I do feel like I do not have the time to commit in the way that I need to, and I don't want it to ruin the situation. The way that they are bullying this man, when I tell you, Tommy Hitman Hearns, George Foreman, Bernard, the way they Pacquiao and him into this relationship, I can't express it. The way that they're bullying him, Mike Tyson style, is giving Creed push to make him and Zadia be together, and I do not understand. I feel like he said multiple times, I do not have the time. I do not have the time. And one more time, I do not have the time. But they seem to want him to be in this relationship with Zadia so bad. And it makes me wonder, is he going to end up regretting it? Either way, she lets him know you need to tell her something up front so you can get to the situation. We move back to Tabari. He apologizes for not calling. He doesn't want him and Venetia to have a misconnection. He really enjoys her. He wants to make sure that they lock in. He also understands that the inconsistency with any type of situation can be problematic, even though it only happened one time. And I love how he pointed out that it only happened one time. So Venetia, calm down. But he basically says that he knows that he loves hearing from her too. And she said that she loves hearing from him, and she enjoys that when she's having a tough or hard day, she sees those text messages from him. And I totally understand. I get the same thing from my baby, so I can't complain. He's consistent on that. But at the same time, I understand when he has a busy day or I have a busy day. Sometimes we're in multiple meetings, and sometimes you don't got a chance to be chatting. Now, if I'm studying, he's studying, child, we got stuff going on. We ain't got time to necessarily be on the text all the time. But I understand when you're constantly getting those jokes or funny whatevers or, sweet messages and stuff, it really does help your day go along, especially when it can be stressful or busy. Tabari understands he don't want to lose his lady, and he said that he will try to maintain the same frequency and vibe and consistency that he started with Venetia. And he hopes that this doesn't change their situation. So, despite him having written it out in crayon, pencil, skylined in the air, we are still with Cam having to talk to Zadia. Zadia changes. They sit down, and she says, has he spoken to Tamika? Has she bullied you into dating me? And he basically says that he thinks he could kind of be scared. He wants to go forward in it. He's not going to worry about the job situation anymore. The fact that everything miraculously changed for him and the commitment is wild in that time period. So you just know this is going to crash and burn real bad, because all your time commitments just stopped, and all of a sudden there was a revelation that you're really truly deeply into this woman and you're just afraid. While I think there could be a tinge of that there, I think he genuinely has a plan for his life, and he is trying to etch it out. And trying to force yourself as a round peg into a square hole, I don't know how that's going to work, but Zadia gonna try it anyway. Child, meanwhile, Ashlee is talking the dumbest of dumbest things, and she's having this conversation about, things that she's learned in her 30 years of life. And, having this conversation about, does she have this passion with Don? And, we don't quantify enough how passion could lead to could still be toxic, which is what she has with Kirsten. She says that Don has been consistent and they've been going at a good pace. She, appreciates his positivity and his communicating with her. But, she doesn't know if she completely has that spark. On the other hand, Kirsten has been inconsistent, disrespectful, uncomfortable, not giving a damn. We could go on and on with that list. But he did kiss her multiple times and bring her flowers. So, there's that. It feels like Ashlee sometimes be literally sabotaging her relationships, but she does do the whole song and dance just to say Don is still her person to keep. And that is where our episode sort of ends. Next week is going to get fiery, y'all, because we got family coming and Sharesse and Zadia back into it. So let me know what y'all thought of the episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Love y'all. Bye.